I started getting excited to go back to Germany. I have friends there, I have family there. There were a few things that I wanted to do, and now it felt like the rug was pulled under me because now everything that I started planning out for myself to feel more secure about the decision, going back to Germany, going back to Europe, like leaving my life here behind in Bali after 4.5 years, just like suddenly shifted and changed. And not because I made the decision, but the decision was made for me. Hi, guys. Welcome back to week 5. Whew. This week, the last 2 to 3 weeks actually, have been crazy. So much has changed in my life, so much has rattled my life. Like I already said in the last video and in the videos before, like I'm going back to Europe. That seems to still be the case. Now it looks like I'm going to Portugal instead of Germany, which is due to my mom deciding to go back to Portugal. She and I am from Germany, but she lived in Portugal. She was just now in Germany for a while, and it looked like she's going to stay in Germany for like another year, but now she decided to go back to Portugal. So since I'm going to stay with my mom because I am technically going to be homeless when I'm leaving Bali, I kind of have to follow where she is going. Portugal is not a bad place to be. It was just like the entire circumstances of how everything erupted on me because there were some things that shifted in my mom's life. She's really going through it, but then also some other things that now recently came to pass or fall apart, I have to say, which now affects me in the same way. I started getting excited to go back to Germany. I have friends there, I have family there. There were a few things that I wanted to do, and now it felt like the rug was pulled under me because now everything that I started planning out for myself to feel more secure about the decision, going back to Germany, going back to Europe, like leaving my life here behind in Bali after 4.5 years, just like suddenly shifted and changed. And not because I made the decision, but the decision was made for me. So I'm sure that you know how that feels like. And again, it could be worse. Like, I'm not complaining in a sense of like, this is so fucked up or whatever, but like it rattled my nervous system. And it's so interesting to me because I feel like, just like with everything else, this is what's supposed to happen. But obviously, my ego, my nervous system, my inner child was just like, ugh, what's happening? Why do you change everything? Why is everything changing every day? Like, that's literally how it was. Like, in the last 2 weeks, things shifted and changed almost on a daily basis. Every time I felt like I have footing again about the new decision that was made for me, and I was like, okay, like we can work with that. Something else changed. So yeah. And it's interesting when I look back onto when that started happening, because it was around when I started week 5. And in week 5, you are recovering a sense of possibility. This week, you are being asked to examine your payoffs in remaining stuck. You will explore how you curtail your own possibilities by placing limits on the good you can receive. You will examine the cost of settling for appearing good instead of being authentic. You may find yourself thinking about radical changes, no longer ruling out your growth by making others the cause of your constriction. So it makes so much sense that there was so much unraveling happening in my life when I read through this again. And at the same time, it feels like it's the exact opposite. So when I went through that chapter again as preparation for this video, there were a few things where I was like, oh, okay, that makes actual sense. Like, that is, what has been happening and where I was stuck and where I held on to being stuck because, yeah, I was a little bit in victimhood. I was a little bit like victimizing myself and being like, this is so difficult and this is so weird. Like, I have had 2 very rough years three if I'm being 100% honest, but specifically 2025. Um, and it just feels like I can't catch my breath sometimes. So, but I also know with the astrological transits and everything happening that this is what needs to happen. I need to close out this old life entirely to be able to build this new life that I really want as an artist, as a writer, as creating content in whatever it may be, photography, film, painting, writing, speaking, storytelling. And as long as I still have attachments to this old life, the new life can't really happen. But somehow there's still parts of me that holds on to this old life because it's convenient, because it's familiar, because I mean I live in Bali, right? Like it's a beautiful place to live in. It's a very convenient place to live in. It's a very affordable place to live in. It's a very liberating place to be in. It is easy to follow your freedom here. But with, again, all of the astrological transits that are happening right now, which activate my fifth house, because we have, like right now, 6 planets in Aries, and it's going to be 7 soon, which has never happened in our lifetime. Aries is the first fire sign in the zodiac wheel, which is considered the child of the zodiac, but also is the most unhinged fire sign because they're considered the child. They're more selfish than the other, like Sagittarius and Leo, because they're just like really going for what they want without overthinking it, without not overthinking it, but without thinking of how their reaction might affect other people and themselves also in potentially a negative way, just because they feel the urge to immediately go about everything. My mom is an Aries. So with 6 planets in Aries, soon to be 7, which is for me as a Sagittarius rising, it's my fifth house, which is the house of creativity, which is the house of short-term relationships. It is the house of sexuality. It is the house of self-expression. And all of that is what I'm trying to build. So this sector of my astrology is highly, highly activated right now. But I still have some loose ends that I have to tie up before I can fully go into there. That's why there's so much friction. So I can understand that. Is it easy? Absolutely the fuck not. Would I like it to be different? Absolutely. Do I understand that it has to be that way though? Yes. So what I'm trying to say here is, even though as a higher overstanding of the situation, I can see that it has to be exactly that way. But as a human being, I'm just like, when is this shit over? I'm over it. I have enough. I need a break. So recovering a sense of possibility is basically talking about how can you allow yourself to see that when everything is falling apart, that means that new possibility is able to emerge. And that's exactly the space that I have been in since I started this week. Last week was supposed to be my week 6, and it was the first week where I did not work with that book. I still did my morning pages. I think I only skipped one day or maybe 2, but I didn't do the test. I didn't read through it, which is good because now I'm caught up with these videos. But I never thought that I was like literally paralyzed. I was not able to do pretty much anything to even help myself out of the situation that I'm in. I'm feeling better now. I'm taking action again. I'm working on things. I'm tying up loose ends. I'm trying to find different solutions for the situation that I'm in. But it took me a good week to get out of this funk, which it's not too bad. But I thought just reading in a book and doing these tasks, I'm sure I'm going to make it happen. Like that's, no matter how I feel like, I was not able to do it. And I'm trying to give myself compassion with that as well, to not be so hard on myself. Okay, Without further ado, let's get into it. One of the first sentences that I highlighted here is what I really love the most is remembering that God is my source. We are in the spiritual position of having an unlimited bank account. And reading through that again, having that as a reminder, like there's another saying that I just came across a couple of times in the last few months. It's like someone just saying on the web, and then people reposted it a lot of times. It's like, babe, don't be on a, like, don't, like, what was it? Babe, think bigger. The universe is not on a budget, or something along those lines. And I'm just like, yeah, fuck yeah. You know, like that's exactly what it is. Why do we limit ourselves? And it's not even just about money. It's just also about like what is possible to happen, because the universe is abundance in itself. The normal state that we as beings are in is abundance. We as humans create limitations because of our conditionings, because of the way we were raised, because of the way we were conditioned in school, and like through our upbringing, through our parents, our family, our friends, teachers, and whatnot, right? So we are so powerful that we are creating these limitations. Life doesn't do it. Life wants everything for us to flow freely, but we put walls and limitations in front of that free flowing flow that wants to reach us. So like that in itself should show us how powerful we are, because we are the ones creating the limitations. It's not the other way around. So that also means we don't really create abundance. We just need to let go of the limitations. Easier said than done. Trust me, I know. But it's a new perspective. It's a new perspective to look at this. So, and then it talks about, some of you may think that it sounds like the magic wand chapter. Sometimes that is how it will feel. More often, what we are talking about seems to be the conscious partnership in which we work along slowly and gradually, clearing away the wreckage of our negative patterning, clarifying the vision of what it is that we want, learning to accept small pieces of that vision from whatever source, and then one day, the vision seems to suddenly be in place. In other words, pray to catch the bus and then run as fast as you can. So manifesting everything, clearing out everything that is in the way, but then still doing the work. Because we still have to ground our manifestations into physical reality. And this has been the work that I have been doing as a coach with people, that I have been doing on myself. And I still sometimes feel myself being in a loop when it comes to a new big thing that I'm manifesting. Because on every level, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. It's going to be a little bit more challenging and requires more of you. And when everything is falling apart, the ego, the person, the human being sometimes will take over. And that's what happened. I'm sure that you can all relate to this because the astrological transits are affecting all of us, right? So I love this new perspective though. Even though I knew about this, but like sometimes we just need the reminder and we need to read it or hear it in a different way with different words, right? And then it says, since everyone can draw on the universal supply, we deprive no one with our abundance. If we learn to think of receiving God's good as being an act of worship, cooperating with God's plan to manifest goodness in our lives, we can begin to let go of having to sabotage ourselves. So reframing the understanding that we have to be worthy of receiving this and changing it to, we are worshiping God by receiving, because God wants us to receive. God wants us to self-express. God wants us to step into our full expression, because that is our purpose. That's what we came here for. So it is not greedy. It is not selfish. It is not evil to want more. Specifically, when you want it so bad, that means a future version of you already has it. That's why you want it so bad, because you already build an attachment to it, because in another timeline, you already have it. And there is an innate knowing of a part of you already having that. So that's why you want it so bad, because that is the feeling of already having it. Does that make sense? So if we would change our perspective of, if I want more, I'm selfish and I'm taking it away from other people, to, if I want more, I am fulfilling my purpose, and therefore someone else will be expanded by watching me and therefore also wanting more for themselves. That is the ultimate expression of what we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do while we're here. So I love that chapter so much. Like, it helped me so much letting go of beliefs that I held on for too long, and reading through it again in preparation of this video also helped me to get out of this funk once again. Remembering that God is our source, an energy flow that likes to extend itself, we become more able to tap our creative power effectively. What is meant by an energy flow that likes to extend itself, it will extend itself through us wanting more and working for more, and therefore receiving more. That is God extending itself. That is God energy extending itself. We are all partially God. God is an energy. God is all of us being connected. Collective consciousness. When I was little, my father is Italian, so my father is was baptized, and my father wanted to baptize me, but my mom didn't want it. Like, she was like, I want my child to be able to believe in what she wants to believe in. My second mom, the best friend of my mother, who's from ex-Yugoslavia, was also, I think she was also baptized, but like definitely also coming from a highly religious family. So everyone in my family around me was highly religious, and my mom was the only one that was not, and was just like, no, stop. Don't put this on her. And I'm forever grateful for this, because I believe that on one hand, it's a beautiful thing to believe in something, but not when it restricts you. And I feel like constitutionalized, no, what's the word? Constitutional religion, is that the right word? Is restricting people more than freeing people. But what I wanted to say, like really in this, is that when I was younger, I don't know if I was supposed to draw God in school, or if I just decided to draw God, or where that was coming from. And the way I drew God was the way my mom explained it to me, when prior to that I asked her who or what God was. And the way my mom explained it to me was, it is the culmination of the love of everyone on the planet shining back on us, or shining back on them. So it's like a reflection of the love of all of us. So the way I painted God was a giant heart in the sky with beams shining down on earth. And I think this is really where everything else that I learned later in life about the universe, about the universal laws, about energy, about embodying your authenticity and all of that, really were birthed out of that belief. So I really have to be grateful for my mom for this one. So therefore, God is our source, an energy flow that likes to extend itself. When we are expressing ourselves authentically, including manifesting the things that we want for ourselves, as long as they are on a soul level and not ego level, right? That is us. That is God extending itself through us. Every person on the planet is a different expression of God, because God is everything, including bad, including evil, including jealousy, including all of the negative things that we label as negative. God is everything. So everything that exists in the world is God. And every person is an extension of God. And God really just wants to experience life in every way possible. That's why it split itself, himself, herself into so many people on the planet so it can experience life as a being, as a human being in every way possible. And that's why it is our purpose to express ourselves authentically to the fullest, because that's what God wants us to do, because that's what God wants to experience. I hope that makes sense. Please let me know in the comments what you think of this, but that's how I see life at this point. Okay. Then it also says, by listening to the Creator within, we are led to our right path. We must learn to let the flow manifest itself where it will, not where we will it. And that's what I mean by it has to be on a soul level and not an ego level. So we have to let go of that human mind and go within and feel like what it really is that we want. So many people are like, I want to help people. Is that really what you want, though? Is that really what you came here to experience? Because maybe it's a people-pleasing tendency that you haven't uncovered, which is a human side of you. I'm not saying that that's the case for everyone, but you get my drift? You know what I'm saying here? Again, let me know in the comments. And then another thing that I found interesting was dependence on the Creator within is really freedom from all other dependencies. Paradoxically, it is also the only route to real intimacy with other human beings. Freed from our terrible fears of abandonment, we are able to live with more spontaneity. Freed from our constant demands for more and more reassurance, our fellows are able to love us back without feeling so burdened. And I loved that sentence because the only thing that you, I guess, should depend on is the Creator within, which is the part of us that is God. Because God is the ultimate creator. God created all of us and everything that you see around you through us. Everything that you see around you, look around your room right now. Everything that you see was once a thought. If you see a chair, it was once a thought of a human being being like, oh, it would be nice not to be sitting on the floor all the time or on stones. A table, same thing. It would be nice to eat off of something that is higher than the floor or from our hands. A stove. Like at some point, someone was like, okay, we can cook with fire. Food gets more edible. It does us better. How can we translate that from outside, from an open fireplace, into inside and make it safe? A light bulb, a toothbrush, a bowl for the food of your dog. Whatever it is, it was once a thought. And that person that invented it manifested it into physical reality by envisioning it, manifesting, and doing the actual physical steps to create it. Create it. Creation, creator, inner creator, ultimate creator, God. You see what I'm trying to say? So depending on the Creator within is really freedom from all other dependencies. Because if you only depend on your Creator, that also means you will be sovereign. It means you will manifest things into your life, but also do the work necessary to make it physical. Okay? Something else that I loved and gave me permission for that week where I was just incapable of doing something was an artist must have downtime, time to do nothing. Defending our right to such time takes courage, conviction, and resiliency. Such time, space, and quiet will strike our family and friends as a withdrawal from them. For an artist, withdrawal is necessary. Without it, the artist in us feels vexed, angry, out of sorts. If such deprivation continues, our artist becomes sullen, depressed, and hostile. We eventually became like cornered animals, snarling at our family and friends to leave us alone and stop making unreasonable demands. So, downtime, not doing anything sometimes, is necessary to recharge. It's necessary to go back within. It is necessary to get out of the creation that you have put so much energy into and regroup all of your energy to see what next step to take. And come back to you, your inner artist, your inner creator, God. And then obviously there was a lot about like, okay, what is it that is being, or what is the payoff of staying stuck? What is the payoff of, like not doing these things? And since I was not able to do much in that week, after that, and then reflecting back on it, I was like, okay, the payoffs is that I have a quick fix for my nervous system. I have a quick fix to feel safe in that moment, even though I will not create long-term safety and therefore long-term nervous system regulation, because I am avoiding the things that will actually get me to freedom and long-term, to a long-term balanced nervous system. But when your nervous system is so reactive and activated, you sometimes seek the quick fix because you just want to feel safe in that moment. So that was what I was seeing was the payoff for me to staying stuck, which is the payoff for me to staying stuck in all of the times when I'm staying stuck. I'm realizing that there is a fear of responsibility that I have, a responsibility of what it means to be solely responsible for something, not being able to have someone to rely on, which at the end of the day is not true. You can always ask someone for help. But there is an underlying fear of also being judged to not being able to hold that responsibility. And therefore, making the decision to not even start, because then you don't have to face that responsibility and you don't have to face asking for help. So I'm realizing that that is one of the biggest things that keeps me stuck. And again, the payoff for that is the quick fix of feeling safe in the moment. And I'm really, really trying to get out of this loop. I would love to know if that is something that you can relate to as well, because a year ago or so, I would have probably felt too embarrassed to even talk about that. That's how I feel. So talking about this now feels liberating, feels freeing. Like that's one of the things that I used to teach in my coaching, which I call outing your shadow. Shout out to TBM, To Be Magnetic. They call it that way. It's not me calling it. I mean, I call it that as well, but it didn't come from me. When you speak about the things that you feel embarrassed about or shameful about, you take your power back. You outing your shadow. You put it out there for people to see, but you have control over it happening. So you take your power back, because what happens is that we usually don't talk about it because we're afraid people find out about it. But when you put it out there, no one will find out about it. It was your decision to put it out there, which is also easier said than done, but it gives you your power back. And then there were different quizzes and different tasks, like the virtue trap quiz. The biggest lack in my life is blank. The greatest joy in my life is blank. My largest time commitment is blank. As I play more, I work blank, and so on. It's like 10 different sentences. And then forbidden joys and exercise. List 10 things you love and would love to do, but are not allowed to do because you think you don't have enough time, or you are not worthy enough of doing that, or you should be doing something else. So what I wrote down here was go dancing alone, roller skate, write sexy short stories, have more sex, take sexy dance classes, show up more on YouTube, act out scenes, or perform more. And all of these are fifth house topics. If you think about what I was talking about earlier, that my fifth house, the house of self-expression, of sex, of joy, of short-term relationships, of authenticity, of performance, because it's a house of Leo. All of these things, dancing, expression, roller skate, fun, write sexy short stories, self expression, have more sex, sex, take sexy dance classes, sex and self expression, show up more on YouTube, self expression, act out scenes or perform more, self expression. Um, so it's so funny to me to really see, and all of that are things that are connected to creativity as well, right? The sacral center is the center of creation, sexual energy, and life force energy. It all comes from the same source. It's all the same energy. Because what is like sex usually is about creation, it is about creating life. But it also is about pleasure, it is about fun, it is about joy, it is about also expressing yourself, right? Like, so it's all connected. So I thought that was also really interesting, of like having that realization once again in that way. And then there's another wish list, an exercise, writing down 19 different I wish blank. And then the last one is I most especially wish. And I did this. And then there's just also a lot of other things of like looking into like what is blocking you, what is keeping you from expressing yourself, what is keeping you from getting there. Writing down imaginary lives. Once again, that was a task that was happening before. My imaginary lives are actress, show or podcast host, performer, singer, sculpture, which is all artistic, all self expression, all performance, right? All in the arts. So I can see how my inner creator, my inner artist has been starved, because if these are the things that I sometimes imagine myself being and I never allowed myself being that, like, she must be fucking like, can I come out? Can I play? So I'm grateful that this book finally made its way to me and I'm finally doing it and going through these weeks, because man, it has been time. So I'm going to end it here so it's not going to be too long. And also, I think it is a good ending here. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about week 6. I haven't started it yet. I will do it right after I recorded this video, so I finally get into it, because today is exactly a week overdue and I don't necessarily want to stretch it into more days than that. And then I'm probably going to record the next video in a couple of days already. You will not see it. I will upload this video in about 2 or 3 days, and then the next video a week after. So it's going to take a little bit longer for you. But I finally caught up with the video, so everything fell into place. Everything happened the way it needed to. And yeah, if you want to support, please subscribe, like, comment, send it to someone. Please comment. Like, I really, really would like to know what you're thinking. There are always moments in the videos where you can pause and write something, and then continue watching, because the feedback is very interesting to me to know what else I can talk about, but also for confirmation for myself, you know, of like knowing if that's like content that you enjoy, what more would you like to see. And then also, I'm still collecting funds to help get my dog out of Bali and take her with me. The GoFundMe link is in the description. Every dollar helps. Please send it with family and friends. We are only 1/3 into the goal, so there's still a lot that has to happen, and there's less and less time. So I would really appreciate your donation, your help with this. Yeah, and I'm excited for next week. I see you then. Thank you for being here.